Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more of the Armchair Historian. Continuing on, I like this little series that he has of the army uniforms. I like it. I don't know why I like it. It's interesting looking at the evolution of uniforms. Why? I don't fucking know. Before we dive into the video, though, make sure you check out the links below in the description box. Got a link to the Discord. Would love it if you joined. Now, the evolution of Soviet and Russian army uniforms. So based on that name, I'm kind of assuming that we're starting this in World War I instead of earlier like we have the other nations. This is a shorter one. Like the other videos were all around, I think they were like 8 to 10 minutes long. This one is only 5 minutes long. So yeah. But let's go ahead and dive right in.
Like most other armies in Europe, Russian soldiers had very bright and ornate uniforms to distinguish them in the chaos of battle. Russian muskets were often copies of European designs with minor changes such as heavier stocks or copper ramrods to prevent rust. Officers of the time wore similarly ornate outfits, often accentuated.
Swords and other edged weapons were carried by officers as a symbol of authority, as well as a means to signal troops into battle.
By elaborate gold braiding. A sword and scabbard at their side usually served as a symbol of their rank and standing. By the time of the Napoleonic Wars, the military had been influenced by the style of uniforms worn by the French and Prussians. Designs remained gaudy, but standards were relaxed during the reign of Tsar Alexander, who once stated, "A soldier has no time for smartness in a campaign."
Yeah.
Regardless of the Tsar's opinions, officers still liked to stand out in a crowd. Thus, their uniforms stayed ostentatious, as did their shakos. Army musicians were similarly well adorned.
While fife and drums aren't the most effective in combat, it boosted the morale for nearby soldiers and also helped signal charges, retreats, and other crucial orders. Yeah, the drummers were very important to battles and movement. Because not only does the beat of the drums helps, with marching speed and whatnot. God, how do we explain? Because I don't know. They were important. They were very helpful in morale and just general movement.
Sometimes being even more decorated than the officers. This
Really?
did serve a function, however, as part of their job was to keep morale and spirits high on the field. By the Crimean War, the Russian military had begun using percussion cap muskets, and some units even wore a spiked helmet. In fact,
I love all the detail that's happening in the back of this video here. This is really well made.
There is evidence that the iconic Pickelhaube was originally designed by Nicholas I, with the prototype being copied by the Prussians before the original made it into production. During the brief Russo-Japanese War, the Russian soldiers were among the very first in the world to have bolt-action rifles as the standard issue infantry firearm. As warfare
Too bad it didn't fucking help them be more competent in that war.
began to modernize, however, so too did the equipment and appearance of the basic infantryman. Decorations became a liability, and uniform colors shifted to a drab mixture of earth tones. Of course, the officer corps were determined to hold on to their symbols of rank for as long as possible, usually until an enemy sniper reminded them it was no longer the 1800s.
Yeah.
The Russian Revolution created an immediate need for new decorations, as soldiers
Recycled equipment. Like many post-war paramilitary or politically influenced organizations, many soldiers used leftover uniforms and equipment from the Great War.
from the White and Red armies naturally wore near identical uniforms. White army soldiers usually wore distinctive sleeve insignias in the colors of the former empire. Meanwhile, soldiers from the Red Army displayed their affiliation with a prominent Soviet star. During border conflicts with the Japanese in the 1930s, NKVD guards were easily identifiable by their bright collar tabs and belt buckles. By the start of the Second World War, further steps towards military modernization had taken place, with a new steel helmet and an upgraded Mosin Nagant being issued to the infantry. Officers were similarly equipped to their Great War counterparts and used the same revolver, but all other influences from the previous government had been removed. Officers now wore the M36 visor caps, which was emblazoned with the Soviet star. While the Red Army performed poorly in the field until late 1942,
the DP-28 machine gun. While primarily an infantry weapon, the DP-28 saw itself being mounted on armored vehicles and with further modifications, was used on aircraft.
They were much better equipped to deal with the cold than their German counterparts. Soviet marksmen and markswomen were deadly with either a scoped variant of the Mosin-Nagant.
Yeah, the detail that he has going on with the guns and their clothing is just phenomenal.
And the semi-automatic SVT-40.
Goddamn.
Men like Vasily Zaitsev and Ludmila Pavlichenko became legendary snipers with these weapons. While infantrymen made the bulk for Soviet ground forces, specialized
The PPSH-41 submachine gun, occasionally called the Papasha, the PPSH-41 was a widely spread submachine gun. The Wehrmacht often captured these and designated them MP717R, though these converted to 9mm Parabellum were labeled MP41R.
assault sappers or
Okay.
engineer brigades were created, spearheading assaults with submachine guns, destroying fortifications or building bridges to advance a Soviet victory. Following the end of the Second World War, the Soviet military saw itself becoming a fully modernized force, both in look and their equipment. Soviet infantrymen were now equipped with the iconic AK-47,
The AK-47 would eventually become the most produced assault rifle in the world.
and later the
Yeah.
AKM assault rifle, developed by Mikhail Kalashnikov. This rifle would see continued use throughout the decades and remains to be a reliable weapon platform to this day. Deploying to Afghanistan, the Soviet military adapted to the desert climate with tan-colored uniforms, often referred to as Afghankas during the decade-long conflict. With the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991,
Ooh, we're in the Chechen
new
war. Okay.
Russian
After the collapse of the Soviet Union, soldiers continued to use leftover equipment and gear, notably the camo pattern on screen, which was originally developed for the USSR. Yeah, I mean, don't some countries still use leftover recycled equipment from World War II? Like maybe the tanks somewhat, or at least they have them in supply in their armies, but they may not. I yawned. But they may not use them actively. I don't know. I'm not sure on that part. But I think I've heard that some armies still have World War II equipment, or at least World War II vehicles.
Federation issued their infantrymen new camouflage uniforms, making their debut
Specifically the small countries, though, not like countries like Russia or the USA or Britain.
deployment in the conflicts in Chechnya, although many still retained their Soviet-style belt buckles, whereas years later, Russian military forces would be free from the influence of the hammer and sickle on their gear. Equipped with AK-12s, a modernization of the reliable AK-47 from the Cold War, the soldiers of the Russian Federation are as prepared as their Western neighbors. In contrast to the standard infantryman's uniform, the honor guards have a very ceremonial look, absolutely needed when guarding high-profile locations, such as Russia's Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. They are equipped with the SKS rifle. Thanks again to...
We'll have this be the final screen here. I think this might be my favorite of the evolution of army uniforms that we have watched so far. If I'm remembering off the top of my head, we've done Russia, so Germany, and the United States. Have we done Britain? We've done the English? I don't think we have. I think we've only done the USA and the Germans. Now the Russian. Have we also done the French? I can't remember. Can't remember who else we've done. But off the top of my head, this so far is currently my favorite because it is the newest of the ones, I think, the newest of the army uniforms that we have watched. So this one was very, I guess, streamlined. It felt very smooth in the delivery of information, of what information needed to be given. I think this was really well made. And then the detail that Armchair Historian always puts on the clothing and the guns, and then especially in this one, you know, the background stuff that was happening, like fighting, or right now with the honor guard, we have the fire in the background of Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. All amazing little details that he puts in. Fantastic. That was the evolution of the Soviet and Russian army uniforms, animated history by Armchair Historian. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.